Do you know why the definition of white was constructed?
Go ahead and tell me.
No, I want you to tell me.
No, because okay, first of all, I feel like you can be a little nicer because you're kind of coming at everyone.
I'm being direct, honey.
You're just, but your energy is just a little bit rude when we're coming in here to have a discussion.
I'm being direct.
They start fighting! I'm just playing. Don't fight, but they are going at each other.
What you're describing as systemic yeah.
To me, what you described was prejudice. I just was like, oh, she just don't know that she's talking about prejudice.
That's totally fine. That's totally fine. I just want to be clear.
But here's the thing, and I'm gonna let her speak, and I don't know if she's gonna rebuttal this. She probably is.
White people also experience racism.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think like racial discrimination can happen to anybody. I think the problem is that usually when white people talk about experiencing racism, it's like a whataboutism when people are talking about racism towards any other group of people. Right? So like obviously a white person can experience prejudice. The issue is like, I'm gonna experience probably some direct stuff, which I have from like my husband's family to some extent, being white. And whatnot, but I'm not gonna experience any of this like systemic stuff. Like I said, like I can literally just go like ooh to a cop, even in America.
So this debate is about if white people can experience racism. And this is from the Dr. Daff show. Make sure you subscribe. Her channel is named Dr. Daff show. But nonetheless, this debate is about, can white people experience racism? It's a lot of debates in this video. And if you notice, the white women put their thumbs up saying white women can experience racism. And the majority of the black women said no, white people cannot experience racism. So let's see their reasoning behind this. Obviously, I believe anyone can experience racism. I don't think racism is race specific. I think that's actually the antithesis of the definition racism, meaning discrimination based off of race. But let's get into this video.
Like, where your guys' cops are crazy here. I'm Canadian. And so it's like, yes, it's just when we're functionally talking about the problem of racism, we all know what we're talking about here, right? If we want to triage these things, any negative comment towards white people is like pretty low on the tier list of societal changes that we need to impart. I think that there's a lot more like systemic issues. So I'd answer like yes, but if you ask me, is it the most important thing in racism that we need to tackle? I would say definitely not.
I grew up going to school, and I was one of the only white people in school. So in that case, it was like, and it was a lot of Spanish speaking, and I didn't speak Spanish. So, and I learned to speak Spanish, and then I realized that I was like, oh, these people don't like me because I don't speak their language. So in situations like that, I feel like there can be racism, like reverse racism, because of that. It's just like you don't fit in. It doesn't make anything wrong. It's just like, you know, you're different than everybody else.
I think there is a distinct difference between racism and prejudice. And so for me,
before she gets too deep, I know where this conversation is going, and I just want to say there is not a literal definition difference between racism and prejudice, because racism is a form of prejudice. It's prejudice based off of your race, meaning you are treating someone differently based off of their race. I understand that in America, there may be some type of nuance to this debate, but that does not mean that in America or anywhere that white people cannot experience racism, because this question is white people also experience racism, and racism is majority and minority specific, meaning if a white person grows up in a community where they are the minority, because that can happen in America. America is a huge place. They can actually experience systemic racism there, not only just one-on-one racism. So I think when you try to negate or remove them from experiencing it, you're kind of isolating not just them, but you're isolating yourself. But I'm going to let her explain. Let me know what you guys think.
Don't believe that white people really experience racism, but I think they may experience some prejudice, because racism is based around systems. Systems put in place, by people of power in order to oppress a sect of people. I don't think there's really any systems put in place by government or anything like that, or people of power, to suppress like white people. However, I feel like white people in a space of like where there's around all black people or something like that, they may experience some prejudice, like that white girl jail, get her out of here, or something like that. Like that's really whack and that's prejudice. But racism, I don't think it's the same.
I'm having a serious issue with that languaging, right? That's been coming up in the last decade. Around reverse racism, reverse racism. I'm like, first of all, look up what the fuck racism is. Oh, I can't cuss on here. Sorry.
No one's going into the Abbey and burning it just because some white people are in there. You know what I'm saying? But they'll go into a place where
because
the black people
racism
aren't,
is
burn it.
directly related to power. Prejudice, yes, absolutely. Discrimination, yes. Racism, no.
I don't think we disagree on like the facts of the matter. Like I agree, white people, especially in America, don't experience like systemic racism. I think it's just a disagreement on terms, like you said. Like you had an issue
because
with
we can't. I can't with that because disagreement on terms, for my family, my people, and those that I love, could be life or death. Like we can't intellectualize racism. There's literal life on the line when it comes to racism.
You mean calling like an instance of prejudice racism puts somebody's life on the line? Can you explain? Can you expand on that?
Can I expand on that? Saying right now with what is happening in this country, because a lot of white people, from what I've been told, what I see, what I read, other friends, people that aren't friends, that I speak to about this with this whole reverse racism thing. When we look at what's going on systematically with affirmative action, all the things, when it comes to silencing ancestors' voices, our history, all of it, that's what's on the line. It literally is around with that they're being racist, so we need to cut out all these books.
Right.
They're being racist, so we need to do that. It's still
no one's
rooted
telling
in the
y'all
system.
y'all can't drink out of a water fountain because y'all smell like wet dog. No offense, but that's...
So here's what they're saying, because I'm going to try to be the middle ground between their logic and the normal logic of saying white people can't experience racism. What they're saying, or what they're trying to say, they're not actually saying it. What they're trying to say is white people cannot experience systemic oppression based off of their race. That's what they're saying. But here's the thing. White people in any group of people in America can face systemic oppression. But the only difference is white people cannot face it based off of their race. They can face it based off of what state they live in. They can face it based off of their educational levels. They can face it based off of how much money they have. They can face it based off of how big their families are. They can face it based off of almost anything but race. And I think that's the disconnect. White people obviously can experience racism, but when you conflate that, since they don't experience systemic oppression because of race, that means they can't experience racism. If you really think that, you're going to live life believing that the majority of white people have never faced oppression, have never faced prejudice, which is not true. On a molecular level, white people can experience one-on-one racism. But even on a systemic level, white people can face systemic oppression just because they don't face it based off of their race and I mean really big systemic. They can still face tiny systemic oppression. They can face it at a specific university or at a specific job. But the whole thing that I'm trying to get to is this. White people can face prejudice. And this conversation has turned into white people are kind of above prejudice, which is just not true. They're not above prejudice. We are not above prejudice. No regular human is above prejudice in America. I'm going to just be honest. No regular human, because if you don't face it based off of race, I promise you face it based off of money. And if you don't face it based off of money, I promise you face it based off of just what you look like if it's outside of race. I promise you face it based off of where you live. You're going to face prejudice and you're going to face some type of challenges in your life. So trying to frame this whole thing like, white people can't face this, that's just not intellectually fair. I wouldn't let anyone do that to black people. I'm not going to let them do it to white people. I don't let anyone do it to anyone. It's just not an intellectually fair argument. But let's continue.
That's y'all's little prejudice that they say about y'all, but no one's telling you, they can't, do this. We're going to go burn up their partying place just because they're white. Like, no one's doing that to y'all. No one has ever done that to y'all. No one has ever said, we're going to go and tear up their whole town because, these white people have a town and they got banks and they're making money. We're going to go burn that. Like, no one's done that to y'all. Y'all still got banks and stuff.
Language is powerful.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Language is very, very powerful. And when we start to put racism in the same terminology as discrimination, as discrimination, and we group it all together, it really gets dangerous.
We don't want to dilute the meaning of racism. Do you know what I mean? Like, we want to group those three words together, prejudice and discrimination and racism. Like, to try to group those words together to mean the same thing dilutes the racism that Black people have experienced for so many years. And that's definitely what we don't want, because when you look at how Black people experienced racism for so many years, that meant life. That meant life. You know what I mean? Like, for sure. But, like, what a lot of white people are claiming as racism, their life isn't really on the line. It's hurt feelings. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, they're writing in books about how white people did this, and that's just hurt feelings. Nobody's life is on the line.
Based on what I said initially, do you think I disagree with you guys on anything?
I don't remember what you said initially.
Okay.
I remember what you said. I do think that I don't disagree with what you said with respect to these two things being different, but what you said originally kind of made it sound like you were putting them in the same box.
Right. The way you answered the question, right, was, are you cool? I'm just tapping on, okay, because you don't seem cool. The question was, and you agreed with it, that people can be racist towards white people. Yeah. And then you answered by saying about discrimination.
I talked about direct versus like systemic and systematic racism.
She also noted at the end, I don't know if you guys remember this, she said on basically the totem pole of what's like issues we need to focus on, racism towards white people is at the very bottom. And she also, I feel like you made it clear when you were saying it's more so little snide comments. Like, it's things my mom experienced, snowflake from the Black side of my family, things like that, versus like what you're describing as systemic. Yeah.
To me, what you described was prejudice. I just was like, oh, she just don't know that she's talking about prejudice.
That's totally fine. Yeah. That's totally fine. I just want to be clear.
But here's the thing, and I'm going to let her speak, and I don't know if she's going to rebuttal this. She probably is. But racism is a form of prejudice, and if you are facing prejudice based off of your race, that is by definition racist. And I think they're conflating two different things. They're conflating systemic oppression, and I mean nationwide systemic oppression, to racism, and they're not the same. And she brought up the example of burning down banks that are Black owned, which did happen, but it didn't happen to you. It literally didn't happen in your lifetime. So you didn't even face that, let alone them facing that. You didn't even face that. And I'm not trying to pick a side. I'm just trying to be intellectually fair here. I'm trying to be intellectually fair. I think I am being pretty intellectually fair when I talk about this. But this whole conversation basically gaslights white people into saying, oh, you guys don't face any systemic issues, which is just not true. If you have a regular job in America, I promise you're going to face some issues on a systemic level. I promise you, because that's just how the country works. If you're trying to send your kids to school, the average tuition per year is what, $30,000 out of state? If you're a regular family and you have 3 kids, how are you going to afford that off of a regular salary? That's a systemic issue. You think they ask your race before they, well, some schools might, but you think the majority of schools ask your race before they decide if you're going to take out loans or not? No. But let's continue.
It's like, oh, she just don't know that she's talking about prejudice.
That's totally fine. Yeah. That's totally fine. I just want to be clear. Ideologically, I'm with you. Like, when it comes to systematic and systemic racism, obviously white people are not experiencing this in the way that Black people are, or the way that any person of color. Right? When I said racism, I mostly meant it in like, I guess like the old Oxford, which is just like discriminating to somebody in any way based on like their race, which can include snide comments. But yeah, I agree. It's not even close to in the scale. That's why I said on a rank of things that matter here, white racism doesn't matter.
What I'm saying is there's no such thing as white racism.
I feel like there is such thing as racism towards white people, and I'm just gonna use like an example, as in like if somebody passes away who is white, I can see like I've had colleagues around me like, oh, it doesn't matter, he was white, he was piece of da da da, like it doesn't matter because like the things he would say about Black people. So even though he was a racist individual, do I think that it's okay that he died because he was racist? No, now you're just being racist. So 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, I guess we get to just agree to disagree on the term of what racism really is.
I'm just happy to use like whatever language. That's when I say racism, that's just all I meant. But if you want to call it prejudice, that's fine. Then I'd say like, yeah, white people experience prejudice, but according to how you're defining racism, white people don't experience that. Yeah.
I just do have to add though, because you started making a good point I wanted to say, but I wasn't trying to get everyone pissed off. I love history. Historically, not now, I'm not saying in this day and age, but historically, different groups of white people were discriminated against. When the Italians started coming over, they were called slurs. When the Irish came over, they were called slurs.
They weren't white then.
Way back, and when that's what I'm saying, the definition of white was different, but they were white.
Do you know why the definition of white was constructed?
Go ahead and tell me.
No, I want you to tell me.
No, because you're okay. First of all, I feel like you can be a little nicer because you're kind of coming at everyone.
I'm being direct, honey.
You're just, but your energy is just a little bit rude when we're coming in here to have a discussion.
I'm being direct.
They start fighting. I'm just playing. Don't fight, but they are going at each other.
But your energy is just a little bit rude when we're coming in here to have a discussion.
I'm being direct.
You tell me why. I don't know why the definition of whiteness was changed, and you're being condescending.
Honey.
So go ahead and tell me. Tell me.
So when you're talking about Italians, other people that are considered white now being discriminated, you okay?
No, because
She's not.
I know she's not.
I don't like that, because I could tell even with the first comment before how your voice was already starting to get shaky. I know that you're already triggered. I know you don't feel great about everything in this conversation, but I don't want you to feel attacked.
I don't feel supported by these two ladies. You guys have been nothing but great, genuinely.
You don't feel supported by us because of what we said about the difference between having a white mother and a black mother?
I think you guys were differentiating yourselves from me being biracial because you guys have black mothers and I do not. And you were making negative comments about the fact that my mom was white. Oh, I can tell. That has an underlying connotation from it.
And here's the ironic thing about all this. This young woman has a white mother. And this conversation is white people also experience racism. And what this young woman is describing is the fact that she was experiencing a form of racism, although not to her, but to her white mother for how she was raised. That is white people experiencing racism. And I swear, I'm not trying to pick a side, but this is what's happening. So when you have these conversations and you're speaking from the perspective of I can do this or I experience this, but you don't, this is what happens. You isolate other communities, which is what's happening in this video. And I said this earlier. I didn't know they talked about her mother. I didn't know, but she's getting heated because she's like, I don't even feel safe around you guys because of the way you're talking about my family. In this instance, her family is a white mother.
Was white. Oh, I can tell. That has an underlying connotation from it.
We were saying based on what you shared about how you spoke to your family.
And based on how you shared that, you thought it was weird that your boyfriends of a different ethnicity's parents demanded respect. Which
no, you misunderstood what I said. You did misunderstand what I said because what
then why don't you reiterate yourself?
I'm trying to and you're interrupting me. I'm trying to and you're interrupting me.
No, but you tried to 3 times. You said the same thing over again.
So when I brought up the issue with my first boyfriend being Korean and the culture of respecting your elders, what I brought up was, yes, I came from a culture of where my family and I could have dialogue back and forth, and I didn't realize that was different until I dated someone from a different race. However, in that specific context, it was to the point where his family was disrespecting me because I was black, but because his culture tells you to respect your elders, he let his family walk all over me and be racist and be disrespectful. That's what I was talking about. I never said I disrespected
that's not okay
them.
That his family did that to you, but what I'm saying is that it's very much the same in black communities, and it's unfair with black communities too. And I know many people who get walked all over from their black parents because they can't do anything. They get hit, they get beat. It's normalized.
I sometimes wish I would.
So I'm going to end the debate right there. I think this was a crazy debate. I think this was good. If you want to check out the rest, go to Dr. Dav Show channel. This video is titled White versus Biracial versus Black Women, The Bridge. That's what it's titled. White versus Black Women versus Biracial Women on Dr. Dav Show. My name is LFR Jojo, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.